Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is SJP, the host of the SJP Files. Have you heard about Anchor? If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Once again, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Ooh-wee. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back. It is your host, SJP, host of the preeminent sports podcast in the world, the SJP Files. All right, I'm capping. This is not the preeminent sports podcast in the world. It will be one day, hopefully, a couple years from now, but I'm just starting. This is week, I have no idea, but this is episode 19. I believe it's episode 19. Let me check just to make sure. I'm fairly certain this is episode 19. This is episode 19 of the SJP Files podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit about... Today's going to be a very NBA heavy show. Mainly because there's not a lot going on in the other sports. I mean, NFL's not doing much. If you don't count the fact that Russell Wilson apparently wants the hell out of Seattle. Not to mention Deshaun Watson wanting the hell out of Houston. Which I literally just remembered while I'm recording this show. Yes, it happens. Okay, it happens. It's just that sometimes things, slip my mind. It's weird. What do you want from me? All right, but, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to start out with the NFL. Today is going to be an NBA heavy show, but we're going to start out with the NFL real quick. Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks star quarterback, has essentially, he hasn't specifically asked for a trade request, but he's made it clear that if he were to be traded, there are a couple of places he wouldn't mind being. Now imagine that. He hasn't asked for a trade, but there are a couple places he wouldn't mind being. I don't understand. What? I don't understand. This sounds completely and patently ridiculous. This sounds like the craziest thing I've ever heard. I don't want to be traded. I'm not requesting a trade. But if I were so happen to be traded, there's some places I'd consider going. Apparently, at the top of Wilson's trade requests are the Cowboys, the Bears, the Raiders, and the Saints. Those are the teams he would be willing to go to, and considering the fact that he has a no trade clause, if he were to be traded, he can veto any place he doesn't want to go, which is great for Wilson. But I still don't understand. I feel like he's trying to stay the good guy in this whole situation, and I would tell Russell, if I knew Russell like that, I would tell him that there's no way to avoid being the bad guy in this situation. The moment you get traded, it's over. It's a wrap. They're going to hate you forever. Now, I didn't think Russell Wilson was going to get traded, but after hearing this, I have immediately changed my stance on this. Russell Wilson is gone, ladies and gentlemen. Russell Wilson is gone. It's over. It's a wrap. He's out. And I can kind of feel where his, where a little bit of his apprehension comes from. He wants out. I think he wants out. I just think he doesn't want to be labeled the bad guy with requesting the fact that he wants out. He doesn't want to be labeled as, ungrateful or disloyal. I think he cares a lot about his image. But personally, I think he's done. I think he's done in Seattle. I think he's out. I think he wants out. And this is like the craziest 0 to 60 I think I've ever seen. This is ridiculous. He's done. I think he'll start the season in Seattle, but unless they change their offense, and Pete Carroll seems like a very stubborn person. If they don't change their offense, they're done. He's done in Seattle. He will formally request a trade. He will formally request a trade if he doesn't get what he wants. And what does he want? He wants to stop getting hit. He wants to, sorry about the pause. He wants to stop getting hit, which means better protection, which also falls on him because Russell, if you watch the NFL, Russell likes to hold the ball. It's a part of his game. He likes to make plays. He likes to hold the ball. It's weird, but it's not weird. It's something that just happens. He likes to make plays, and sometimes that hurts him, which is why he gets hit a lot. But it's not completely the fact that he holds the ball. It's also the fact that his offensive line isn't exactly great. And Pete Carroll's insistence on running the football on first and second down makes zero sense. Yeah, I know last year he was playing well. They had changed the offense. The offense looked better. It looked more dynamic. And then it was like a 2-game stretch where he had 7 turnovers in 2 games. And they pulled the ripcord and went right back to that old school. We're going to run on first down, run on second down, and expect our quarterback to make a play on third down. That's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. Russell Wilson, they need to give Russell Wilson's the complete reins to this offense. You have a franchise quarterback, a top 5 franchise quarterback, a perennial MVP candidate every single year, and you refuse to allow him to cook. That's the best way I can put it. Your refusal to let him cook is going to cost you a franchise guy. And Russell's 32 years old, I think. I want to say Russell's about 32, give or take. Third round, he was, he's 32. Ooh, sorry about that. Yeah, Russell Wilson, he's 32 years old. He's been in the NFL a while. It's been 10 years in the NFL. I know they won 12 games last year, but still. They won the division, but still. They got crushed. They got crushed by the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC wildcard in wildcard weekend. He had 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. What do you want from him? What are the things you want him else to do? He just wants a little more flexibility in the offense. And it feels like they're refusing to do that. It is crazy. It's just insane. We're going to move on to the Deshaun Watson situation in Houston. Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. He has made it abundantly clear he is wanted out of Houston. And when he met with the new head coach of the Houston Texans, whose name escapes me. I forget who the fuck is this dude's name. He met with his coach. David, what is that? David Culley last Friday. He met with Culley and informed the team that he has no intention of ever playing for them ever again. He asked the Texans for a trade privately. Then he asked the Texans for a trade. Actually, he asked the Texans for a trade privately before they hired their new coach. And then he asked for the trade publicly after they hired the new coach. And after his first sit down with the coach, let Culley know he has no intention whatsoever of ever suiting up for this team again. He wants out of Houston. He has no trade clause. There are a couple places he might be. He just signed a 4-year, $156 million contract. And the Houston Texans, I said this a couple weeks ago. The Houston Texans, they trying to test Deshaun Watson gangster. They are trying to test Deshaun's gangster, and that's not going to go well. I said it's not going to go well, and it won't. Deshaun has made it very clear. He will sit if he doesn't get traded. And if he sits, because right now, I think you could probably get 3, maybe 4 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson. And even though Deshaun is only like 26 years old, I want to say he's 20? Yeah, he's 25. He'll be 26 in September.
Well, Brady Watson is so dug in, I'm told, that
he has made his position perfectly clear. He wants out, and he will sit if you don't trade him. Threw for 4,800 yards this year, 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. And the team, how many times have you heard of a quarterback with those type of numbers have a 4-12 season? Those are MVP level numbers. Those are MVP numbers right there. Nearly 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, only 7 picks, 70.5 QBR. He is one of the best quarterbacks in professional football, and he has made that abundantly clear with his play on the field. Deshaun Watson, with his worst season is his rookie year, where he actually got hurt at the end of his rookie year, where he only threw for 1,600 yards and 19 touchdowns, only 8 picks, got sacked 19 times. 2018 got sacked 62 times. In 2019, got sacked 44 times. And in 2020, he got sacked 49 times. And he is still putting up stupid numbers. You traded away his best asset in DeAndre Hopkins to the fucking Arizona Cardinals for a beer and a bag of chips. They got, I want to say, like a 3rd round pick. They got a 3rd round pick and the carcass of David Johnson, who I'm not even sure is on the team anymore. DeAndre wanted a new contract, so Bill O'Brien tried to act like Bill Belichick and traded his ass. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. The Houston Texans are, without question, the worst run organization in professional football. Absolutely terrible. They do not deserve Deshaun Watson, and he wants out. And I know they trying to test his gangsters. And he's going to sit. He's going to sit. It's done. It's over. There is a 100% chance that he will be traded. a 100% chance that Deshaun Watson is traded. Now, whether he is traded before or after the start of the season, we'll let you know just how stupid the Houston Texans actually are. Because he wants out, and they're refusing to accept trade offers. They're not even picking up the phones for some of these teams. Some of these teams that have left are starting to leave voice messages and leaving texts unread or unreplied to. The Houston, I don't understand it. The Houston Texans, what is your problem? What crack are you smoking? The man said he wants out. Not only does he want out, he wants absolutely nothing to do with you. He has made it perfectly clear. He wants nothing to do with you. And if you do not trade him, you're gonna have to trade him. You have to trade him probably. This is exactly what's gonna happen to the Houston Texans. They're gonna wait. They're gonna tell you, man. They're gonna test his gangster. He's gonna sit out, and then they're gonna get half of what they should have gotten for him. Instead of getting like 4 first-round picks, they're gonna get 2. Why? Because he's not playing, and you have to trade him because he has made it abundantly clear he's not suiting up. He's not suiting up. And I wish nothing but the best for Deshaun Watson. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him go to an organization because these two situations with Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson have broken down to 2 different situations. For Deshaun, it's about, because the way I feel like these 2 situations have broken down is that in Deshaun Watson's case, the Houston Texans lied to him. They broke his trust. They lied to him. They broke his trust. And for him, it looks like he tweeted out, loyalty is everything. They weren't loyal to him. So he's essentially saying, fuck you. I'm done. I'm not going to play here anymore. I will sit. And I think he will sit. I have no doubt in my mind he will sit. And the situation where Russell Wilson is, they take him for granted. That is the difference. You take Russell Wilson for granted. If you change up some things, he'll get over it. For Deshaun Watson, you lied to him, and he's not getting over that. There's no fixing this. He's done. And it's a shame. Actually, no, it's not a shame. It's not a shame at all. I hope they fucking suck. They fucking suck. And I hope, without question, that they absolutely implode next season. I can't wait to see this team just completely crash and burn. Number 2 on the depth chart is AJ Mccarron. You might know him as the former Alabama quarterback. And Josh McCown, who has been in the NFL like 40 years. Still won't retire. Still collecting the paycheck. 3rd on the roster. But I don't understand it. I really don't. I really don't understand how the Houston Texans, who have been looking for a franchise quarterback since their inception, I do not understand how they could f this up so badly. It's shocking how bad this has gotten. It's astounding how terrible this is. Absolutely astounding. How horrendous this situation has gotten. And it's their own fault. It is absolutely their own fault. Now that's it for the NFL. We're going to take a quick quick break, pay some bills, and then we'll be back to talk about the NBA All-Star Game. We're going to break down the NBA All-Star Game, the selections, starters, and starters and reserves, who missed it, who missed the cut, who should have made the cut. We're also going to break down. We're also going to talk a little bit about every team's worst contract. At the end of the show, that's my end of the show. Every NBA team's absolute worst contract. It's hilarious. The Lakers also, shout out to the Lakers. The Lakers stopped their 4-game skid last night against the Portland Trailblazers. I didn't get a chance to see the game because I was at work, which is patently because I've been working overnight all night last week. Did a couple overnight games, but that's not the point. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Now, normally you hear an ad in between segments 1 and segments 2, but this week I decided to put the ad at the front of the show, which I decided in post, so sue me. But like I said, back, ladies and gentlemen, the 2021 NBA All-Star Game held on March 7th. TNT, which is going to be in like 2 weeks anyway. Actually, not even 2 weeks, like a full week from Sunday. Full week from tomorrow. The game it'll be the 70th All-Star Game. Game starts at 8 p.m. The Taco Bell Skills Challenge. All this is taking place on one night. Instead of an All-Star weekend, it'll be all one night. Tip off at 5. The Taco Bell Skills and 3-point contest at 6:30. The game at 8. And at halftime, we have the Slam Dunk contest. But before, let us break down the NBA's All-Star Game. For the starters from the Eastern Conference, All-Star captain Kevin Durant, 11-time NBA All-Star, 2-time Finals MVP, will not be playing. He will not be playing in this game. He's injured, won't be playing. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bradley Beal, the rest of your starters. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving. Eastern Conference reserves: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach Levine, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Nikola Vucevic, and Domantas Sabonis, who is replacing Kevin Durant in the game. For the Western Conference All-Stars, team captain LeBron James. This is his 17th All-Star Game appearance. 4-time NBA All-Star. 4-time NBA MVP. 3-time All-Star Game MVP. 4-time Finals MVP. Rest of the Western starters: Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard. Western Conference reserves: Anthony Davis, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Dame Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, Zion Williamson, and Devin Booker. Devin Booker will be replacing Anthony Davis because Davis is also not playing. Eastern Conference head coach Doc Rivers, who will be coaching Durant's team, and Quinn Snyder, the Western Conference head coach, will be coaching Team LeBron. Those are your Western Conference All-Stars. Now, Jaylen Brown from the East. We're going to talk about the first-time All-Stars first. Jaylen Brown from the Eastern Conference. Zach Levine from the Eastern Conference. Julius Randle from the Eastern Conference. And Zion Williamson from the Western Conference are all first-time NBA All-Stars. The most surprising first-timer is without question Julius Randle, who is averaging 23.2 points per game, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists. Yes, You've heard that correctly. Julius Randle. Julius Randle. Julius Randle is an NBA All-Star. I thought Randle was I did not think this was going to be a good contract. I thought this was going to be a terrible contract, actually. I thought this was a bad idea for the Knicks to spend some money getting Julius Randle. But right now, Julius Randle, it looks like Julius Randle has finally kind of evolved. Randle has evolved as a player. 6 years in, he's 26 years old. It looks like he's completely just evolved as a player. Now, I haven't watched too many Knicks games, but you can see the progression in his game as he's gotten older. Two points in his first year with the Lakers, then 11 points, then 13, then 16. Then his singular year in New Orleans after LeBron James went to LA, he went to New Orleans, signed, I think it was a 1-year deal, or did he get traded? I forgot. But he signed a couple-year deal with the New York Knicks. He had 19 points last year, and this year he's averaging 23 points, 11 rebounds. He is matured so much as a player. And Julius Randle has definitely grown his game to the point where he has the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks are a top 6 seed in the Western Conference. Top 6 seed, man, in the Western Conference. They're 29th in points, 3rd in rebounds, 29th in assists, and 1st in opponents' points per game. One of the best defenses in the NBA. Terrible offense. But he's playing great basketball. He's got the Knicks hovering around 500 for the first time in years. It's amazing to see how far he's come in his time in the NBA. Next, Zach Levine, first-time All-Star, averaging 29 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in the NBA. Now, Zach is another one of those guys I believe to be a good stats, bad team guy. First 3 years in Minnesota, and he's played his last 4 years in Chicago. And considering the fact that the Chicago Bulls have been terrible the last couple years, not entirely his fault. Not entirely his fault that his team is trash. But they're hovering around 500 this year. First time in a while. Same thing like the Knicks. He's playing much better defense. He was also one of those guys, no defense guy. But he's not a great defender. He's a competent defender. And that's really all you need in the NBA. If you're a great scorer, you just need to be a competent defender. I don't need all NBA level defense from you. I just need competent. His last 5 games, 24 points, 35 points, 21 points, 38 points, 30 points. He's got the Chicago Bulls in the playoff picture for the first time in years. And he's another one of those guys. 6 years in, he's only 25 years old. He's beginning to mature as not only a scorer, but as a player. You can see that in his defensive stats this year. Next, first-time All-Star, Jaylen Brown. Now, Jaylen Brown is on a disappointing team this year, which is why I wasn't 100% on both Brown and Tatum making the All-Star game this year. I'm really not. I was really not, on board with it, mainly because both these guys can suck. Okay, they're great. Okay, that was that's a little mean-spirited by me. I'm sorry. They're two fantastic players. Two absolutely fantastic players. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They both have all-star numbers, but their team, besides who's them, the Brooklyn Nets, the Los Angeles Lakers, let's see, I'm trying to remember how many teams have more than one all-star. The Brooklyn Nets, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Phoenix Suns. What do most of those teams have in common? They're all, with the exception of the Boston Celtics, they're all near the top of their conference. The Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets are 1 and 2 in the East. The Clippers, the Lakers, the Suns, they're 2, 3, and 4 in the Western Conference. It's 5 of your 6 teams right there. But the Boston Celtics are 16 and 17 this year, 4 and 6 in their last 10. They're 7 and 12 on the road. The Boston Celtics they're one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA. I believe I said this earlier in the week. They're not a horrendous team, but you can tell they miss Gordon Hayward on this team so much. And with Hayward balling out the way he is in Charlotte, real talk, with Hayward balling out the way he is in Charlotte, I would have been cool with Hayward making it instead of one of those guys. I would have been completely cool with either Hayward or Rozier off this team making it to the All-Star game. Because Terry Rozier is also having a great year. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. They're the two guys. I don't think the Boston Celtics, with the way they're playing, deserve 2 All-Stars. I don't. Whether both guys are putting up All-Star numbers or not is kind of irrelevant to me. They're not a good team. And you might say, well, they've got a slightly better record than the Hornets. Here's the difference between the Hornets. The Hornets are a young team trying to establish an identity for themselves, trying to make the playoffs. The Boston Celtics are supposed to be a championship contending team this year. And they're not. They're just not. So I wasn't completely cool with both of these guys making it. But since they both did make it, it is what it is. Next first-time All-Star, Mr. Zion Williamson. Another team. Now, Zion and probably Ingram were the two guys for this team. Ingram is averaging 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Zion Williamson, 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. With the way Zion has been playing as of late, playing kind of like a point forward in this game, especially over the last 10 games or so, shooting like 60s, shooting in like the 60% range for the last couple of years. Zion Williamson deserves to make the All-Star game this year. And the NBA, you could tell the NBA wanted him in the All-Star game this year. But he's been playing well. They're letting him, play make more. They're letting him play make more, which is great for them, which is great for him. Zion seems a little more explosive. I'll say it before I say it. He still doesn't seem as explosive as he was at Duke. I don't know if it's him or if it's the players. Like I said, I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's just the NBA players are more athletic. He doesn't look as explosive. He still looks explosive. He just doesn't look as explosive. Those are your first timers. LeBron James. Hey, Bronny. What? Those are your all-stars. We talking about those are your all-stars. I don't really have a snub. The two guys I thought were snubbed in Devin Booker and Domantas Sabonis both got in due to injuries. Now, if due to injuries to Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis on the East and West side, now if that didn't happen, I would have been completely cool with Booker, because whenever you say a guy got snubbed, you got Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. My bad. It happens. Anyway, where was I? Yes, I would have been, because you're right. When you say the guy got snubbed, you gotta put a guy up. You gotta say, if you think he got snubbed, who should he replace? I would have been completely cool with Booker replacing Paul. I love Chris Paul. He's a great player who has completely changed the culture of this team. But if I had to choose between him and Booker, I would have given Booker the nod over Paul. And as for Sabonis, I'd have given him the nod over Vucevic. Although Vucevic's numbers and Sabonis' numbers are virtually identical, Sabonis plays on a better team. The Orlando Magic are 13-20, while the Indiana Pacers are 15-16. They're both under 500, and the Orlando Magic have essentially been racked with injuries over the last couple months in the NBA. But the Indiana Pacers are the better team, so I would have rewarded Sabonis over Vucevic. They're both two-time All-Stars. We got Ben Simmons also making the All-Star game. This is his third, I believe it's his third straight All-Star game. And to be honest, if you had to have Vucevic, I would have been okay with Sabonis replacing Simmons as well. I would have had no issue with Sabonis replacing Simmons whatsoever. Or replacing either Tatum or Brown. But the Brooklyn Nets are the only team with 3 All-Stars: Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, who is now averaging like 11 assists, leading the league in assists again. Ridiculous. They've won like 8 games straight. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to the Nets. It still worries me that their defense is virtually non-existent. It still very much worries me that they're having a hard time on the defensive end. But that's it for the NBA All-Star selections. Next, the NBA regular season standings. The Philadelphia 76ers, like I said, are up top. You got the Brooklyn Nets, half a game back. Then the Milwaukee Bucks. The Toronto Raptors have pulled themselves up to 500. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, which is they're 6-4 in their last 10. But they're playing well. The Miami Heat have pulled themselves back up with the recovery of one Jimmy Butler. He's a guy, if he's missed too much time to make the All-Star game. They've won 5 straight. The New York Knicks are next. Then you have the Boston Celtics, the Indiana Pacers, the Chicago Bulls, and the Charlotte Hornets, who are in the 7-10 range in the East. In the Western Conference, Utah still up top. Clippers have moved to second. The Lakers have moved down to third. The Suns are fourth. The San Antonio Spurs are fifth. The Portland Trail Blazers are sixth, which is weird because they're both teams are 4 games over 500. But the Blazers have just played more games than the San Antonio Spurs, which is why they don't have. So even though the Spurs are 16-12 and the Trailblazers are 18-14, they have a better winning percentage because they just played less games. The Golden State Warriors are 7th, prized to make a playoff push. The Denver Nuggets are 8th. The Dallas Mavericks are 9th. They're making a push. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, and the Memphis Grizzlies are down at 10. That's your play-in. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to talk, and we're going to get to a miscellaneous subject. We're going to go over every NBA team's worst contract by Bleacher Report's Greg Schwartz. Back in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said previously, we're going to be talking about every NBA team's worst contract this year. There are 30 players on this list. Number 1, Tony Snell Jr. He is making $12.2 million this year. It's an expiring contract, which is good for Atlanta, but he's averaging 4.6 points a game, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 steals on 45% shooting in 15 minutes. Wow. All right, he is shooting like 57% from 3, but he's only taking like 47 of them. I don't know too much about that. It's an expiring contract. I don't think this one could. I don't think this one could. Yeah, I don't think this one should probably be on this list at the top. Next, you've got Boston Celtics Kemba Walker, who's averaging $34 million. Problem with Kemba is not only is he not playing well, his play is so up and down. His field goal percentage is below 40%. But he has real trouble with bad defenses this year. So I would not be surprised if in the offseason you see the Boston Celtics try to move Kemba. DeAndre Jordan in Brooklyn, I don't think this is a bad contract. He's a shell of what he once was. He's a shell of what he once was, but I don't think this is a terrible contract. He's making $10 million this year. It's not great. It's not terrible either. He's averaging 7.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. It's fine. Nicholas Batum. Now, he had the worst contract last year when he was making $20+ million. But he seems to be playing well in LA with the Clippers. So 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I think this one's an okay contract. Otto Porter Jr., this is a terrible contract. I think this might be the last. Is this the last year of his contract? But you've had to have heard about this Otto Porter contract. I mean, god damn. He's making $20.5 million this year. I thought it was expiring. Is it expiring? Yes, it's an expiring. This is the last year of his contract. But yeah, this was a terrible contract when it was signed. It's horrendous. Kevin Love's contract, he $31 million. This one's a bad contract. He has not been playing well, and when he is playing, he hasn't been healthy. Next, you got James Johnson from the Dallas Mavericks, $16 million. If you cut this in half, I think this is a good contract. If you make it $16 to $8 million, I think this is a good contract. Gary Harris's contract, $19. Yeah. You need not even cut this in half. He needs to be making like $8. Like like snip off like $12 million of this, you got a good contract. Detroit Pistons, Blake Griffin. This has been a terrible contract for a while. He signed that big 5-year supermax with the Clippers, and then they promptly traded his ass. Ha ha ha. But yeah, he's been marred by injuries over the last few years, so his production just keeps going down and down. Andrew Wiggins. I've said my piece on Andrew Wiggins. I've said it so much. He's making $30 million this year. This dude is making $30 million. This guy is making $30 million. The hell out of here. John Wall. Yeah, actually, this isn't a horrendous. It was a horrendous contract when John Wall couldn't stay healthy, but this isn't a horrendous contract now. He's playing very good basketball in Houston right now. 20 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Is it a great contract? This is an MVP level contract. You take $10 million off this, and this is a good contract. You cut $10 million off this, and this is a good contract. Indiana Pacers, they don't have any bad contracts. The Los Angeles Clippers, Marcus Morris, the evil Morris twin. He's making $15 million a year. Yeah, you need to cut this by like $10 million. I don't know why the hell they gave him that big ass contract. That's like $64 million contract or something like that. The Lakers, Luol Deng, who hasn't played since. Yeah, I believe this is this an expiring deal? No, it's not. Yeah, they'll be paying him. The next year will be the last year. They had to stretch this to make the money work to get LeBron and AD. Memphis Grizzlies, Dion Waiters. I don't think he's actually played this year for the Grizzlies, so he's making a little over $12.5 million. The Miami Heat's Andre Iguodala deal. Shave this in half, and I think this is a good contract for his level of experience. Brook Lopez, I don't have a problem with his contract whatsoever. I think this is an overstatement. Minnesota Timberwolves, Ricky Rubio, yeah, him making $17 million is a stretch. He hasn't been good in a while. New Orleans Pelicans, JJ Redick, I think this is a good contract. Joe Kim Noah's contract, he hasn't played this year. They owe him another 6.4 next year. They had to stretch him too. Al Horford, yeah, this is a terrible contract. The Philadelphia Sixers, I don't know how Daryl Morey managed to move this contract. It is a bad contract. They should not have given Al Horford all that money. $100+ million. Al Horford's already 34 years old. This was a terrible contract. Terrence Ross's contract isn't a bad contract. $13.5 million this year is not a bad contract. That over-exaggeration on that one. Complete over-exaggeration. Mike Scott, not a bad contract, $5 million. That's not a bad deal. It's an expiring contract. Not a bad deal. Chris Paul. I think this is one of those. This is like a John Wall contract too. It's not great, but it's not horrendous. Shave $10 million off, and I think this is a perfect contract. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just not great. Rodney Hood, he's making $10 million. This is a fine contract. Split it in half. I think it's a good one. It's an okay one. It's not terrible. Corey Joseph, this one's a bad one. He's making $12.5 million this year. This one's a bad one. It's a bad contract. LaMarcus Aldridge is making 24. Not a bad contract. This is the last year of his contract anyway. I think either it's this year or next year. He'll be fine. This isn't a horrendous contract. It's a bad one. It's just not a horrendous one. Cut it in half. Cut in half is a good contract. Aaron Baines for the Toronto Raptors. Not a bad deal. He's making $7 million. Mike Conley. This one's kind of a bad deal. You shave $15 million off this. I think this is a great deal. But yeah, Mike Conley, even though they're a really good team, but Mike Conley, I don't think Mike's ever made an all-star game. And I don't think he's ever made an all-star game, but he's having a good year, and they're having a great year in Utah. But it's a little bit too much money. And Russell Westbrook still is horrendous. His athleticism has waned so much as of late, and he hasn't really been able to stay healthy. So Russell Westbrook's $41 million. This one's a bad one. This one's a bad one. He's never been a great shooter. He's still a good rebounder, great passer, but this team is horrendous. So yeah, this is a bad deal. Horrendous deal. Absolutely horrendous. Little news. LeBron James from soccer superstar. What is it? Zlatan. I have no idea how to say it. I know his first name is Zlatan. Said in an interview with Discovery Plus Sports, it's a mistake when high-profile people like James use their influence to become involved in political debates. LeBron James responded, I quote, I would never shut up about things that are wrong. I preach about my people. I preach about equality, social injustice, racism, systemic voter oppression, things that go on in our community. But I was a part of my community at one point and saw things that were going on. And I know what's still going on because I have a group of 300 plus kids at my school that are going through the same thing and they need a voice. I am their voice. I am their voice. I use my platform to continue to shed light on everything that may be going on, not only in my community, but around this country and around the world. Zlatan is like a 39-year-old Swede. What he said was LeBron James is phenomenal at what he does, but I don't like it when people have some kind of status. They go and do politics at the same time. Do what you're good at. Do the category you do. I play football because I'm the best at playing football. I do not do politics. If I would be a political politician, I would do politics. This is the first big mistake when they become famous. Shut up. Who the hell is this dude? I have no idea who the fuck this dude is, but who the hell is this dude? If you're only concerned about making money and playing football, that's your business. But LeBron has made it abundantly clear that he's about helping his community. He's about talking about things that have impacted him and his life and the people around him. I don't know who this Zlatan is. I don't know. He plays for AC Milan in Italy. Yeah. So wasn't he when he one of the LA Galaxy dudes? Because I know they were talking about him a couple years ago. But this dude has, man, that's how you were raised. That's great. But you really shouldn't be talking about other people's, and you singling out LeBron James as a fact is not a good idea. Because for the most part, LeBron, except with the exception of the whole China thing, LeBron generally does his research before he opens his mouth. So he generally knows what the hell he's talking about when he speaks on these subjects. So Zlatan, keep my man name out your mouth. Keep my man name out your mouth. That's all you got to do. Keep my man name out your mouth. This was completely unnecessary on his part. He shouldn't have talked about it at all. I don't know why he talked about it, but is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for episode 19, of the SJP Files. I'm your host, SJP. See you again for the I believe it's going to be the week 9 power rankings in the NBA.